the Mighty Rip Pod, we take a look at the brand new Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniforms, and we do it through a podcast. Plus, I'm going to give you my opinions of the top 5 ways the National Basketball Association, ESPN, 2K Sports, and all of its partners could dramatically improve the NBA 2K Players Tournament. All of that, and trust me, a whole lot more coming up on the Mighty Rip Pod today. But we begin with really what I think has been one of the only topics in all of sports for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And of course, that's Tom Brady. Where will Tom Brady go? Once he gets there, will he reveal why he went? All of those questions and more have been answered by Tom Brady and his people over the last couple weeks. So now we're sitting here with the big reveal that came out earlier today, which was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were revealing their brand new uniforms. And you know, whenever a team does this, regardless of the sport, it could be soccer, it could be hockey, it could be Major League Baseball, it could be the National Football League. It's always, you're always dawning in a new era. Whenever you have a new uniform, it's always about bringing in that new era to your fan base. So my initial reaction when I saw the new uniforms that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had released to the world was they didn't seem to me, because I'm not a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, they didn't seem to me to be all that different from the previous uniforms. Now, I will give the Tampa Bay Bucs a little bit of credit here with their all sort of pewter uniform. If you have a chance to check it out, it is actually very cool, and it's actually very unique. It's like this pewter putty color mixed with red and looks like a little bit of orange mixed into it, and it looks absolutely fantastic. It's like the kind of uniform you would expect a college football team to wear. So that's what Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be using when they get to wear their, and I quote, color rush uniforms, as opposed to the other uniforms, their regular uniforms, which are just okay. It's like that Geico commercial where everything is just okay. Look, Tom Brady is now a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it doesn't matter what color uniform they put him in. He is going to, at the very least, give some legitimacy for a short period of time, assuming we actually have a season, to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that's exactly what they paid him all of that money for. Real quick, elsewhere around the National Football League, there are some stories about nothing that are really stories just about nothing, and I wanted to point this one out because I thought it was important for you, the fans, to know that this whole DeAndre Hopkins trade not being finalized is just merely paperwork. I'm telling you right now, it is just paperwork. And the paperwork is simple, that they just need to be able to get Hopkins and David Johnson both physicals before the trade can be finalized. Look, it's the steal of the century in the National Football League since Herschel Walker became a member of my Minnesota Vikings, which led to the Dallas Cowboy greatness era that Jerry Jones was able to put together early in his tenure as owner of the Dallas Cowboys. It was like 16 players for one. Worst trade in the history of trades. I'm just saying. Anyways, so that'd be like trading, I don't know, like Nicolas Cage for Tom Hanks during Tom Hanks's prime. I'm just saying. All right. So anyways, so lots of interesting sort of things to sort of think about with regards to the Arizona Cardinals and DeAndre Hopkins being on that team. And I think the Cardinals are going to have a much better chance this year around with Hopkins there. And that deal is, for all intents and purposes, done. Now, as much as Bill O'Brien would love to find a way to get out of that deal, because, when you take a step back, even Bill O'Brien, when he took a step back, he must have woke up the next morning, took a couple Advil or Tylenol because he had a big old headaches from his hangover, allegedly, that he actually pulled the trigger on that deal in the first place. Worst deal I've seen in the National Football League in at least 15 years, Bill O'Brien. So if you're Bill O'Brien and you can find a way, some sort of way to get out of that deal and still keep DeAndre Hopkins and then find a way to trade him again, but this time actually get what he's actually worth on the market, that would be absolutely fantastic. For Cliff Kingsbury and the Arizona Cardinals, this would be such the Cardinal thing for them to do, right? The Cardinals look like they pulled off one of the biggest trades in the history of the National Football League, and everything just looks great. And then we get stuck with this whole coronavirus pandemic. And we're in the middle of the coronavirus winter, and the Cardinals find a way to lose this trade. Like, if that happens, it's simply because of greed on the Cardinals front. And it would be such the typical thing for the Arizona Cardinals to actually do. Now, look, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Cardinals are going to be able to finalize this trade. So I think that is as close to a done deal. But wouldn't it be interesting if the Arizona Cardinals found a way to screw this one up? All right, elsewhere around the world of sports. Normally we say there's so much going on in the world of sports. Like, the biggest news story of the day might be the fact that Mike Greenberg on ESPN this morning, on ESPN's Get Up this morning, actually started out the show by saying it was Wednesday when it was actually Tuesday. That might be the biggest story of the day in all of sports. It's literally overshadowing the new era of uniforms in Tampa. But I did want to touch on a topic that has become very interesting in this era of the social distancing, and as we're all staying home and we're all looking for things to watch on television. I finally made it through Ozarks season 3. Now, I'm not going to give anything away. A little slow at time, but I thought a fantastic last couple episodes of season 3. So we're all looking for things to watch. Look, I might even watch a Queen Elizabeth show later tonight. That's how bad things have gotten. So we're all looking, as I mentioned, we're all looking for things to watch. And the NBA 2K Players Tournament tipped off last weekend. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what that is 2K basketball in 2K Sports is broadcasting a National Basketball Association Players Tournament. It's 16 players seated in this tournament. And basically, we sit down and we watch players play against each other on a video game, on television, or online, on Twitter or Facebook or ESPN.com, and we watch the live stream and we hear them sort of going back and forth with each other. A little bit of banter between the players. It's gaming. So that's exactly what this tournament is. And I got to thinking about it, and I was like, like the iRacing guys that are putting on all the NASCAR races, who, by the way, had 1.4, basically just under 1.4 million people tuned in to FX or to Fox Sports 1, FS1, and Fox to watch video game cars drive left on a racetrack for, I don't know, it was like 400 or 500 miles. I mean, like, when I was like, what could be worse than watching real NASCAR? How about trying to watch fake NASCAR? Anyways, So watching fake NASCAR, watching those video game cars drive around, it was actually fascinating to watch. I mean, like, I'm not saying NASCAR is going to make more money because of iRacing than they would if they had real races. I'm certainly not saying that. But as an alternative, it's actually not half bad. Now, the National Basketball Association and the NFL, the games aren't set up in the same way that they can be set up in auto racing. I mean, you can sit at home in iRacing and basically drive a car from the convenience of your home. I mean, you can really make iRacing work as a televised broadcast. Now, I started to really think about the NBA 2K tournament, and I thought, God, this could be so much better. I mean, it really should be so much better. And I started to come up with ways that I thought it could be so much better. So one of those ways is that we do away with the actual in-game broadcasts that are put out by 2K. And we actually bring in real announcers to do the actual broadcast. Now, look, I know Kevin Harlan and Reggie White are certainly available. Reggie Miller are certainly available at this point. So you could certainly go get Kevin Harlan, who's absolutely fantastic. Look, I'm telling you, Kevin Harlan can make a trip to a grocery store absolutely entertaining. Kevin Harlan is a phenomenal broadcaster and would do a great job with something like this, as would Reggie Miller. And then I thought, well, everybody loves Doris Burke, right? We all love Doris Burke, and Doris has recovered from the coronavirus, and we would love to have Doris Burke be a virtual sideline reporter of this particular tournament. I mean, it would be absolutely fantastic to have Doris Burke in between timeouts, in between quarters, actually interview either the coaches or players that would have actually been on that team. Imagine Doris Burke actually interviewing Greg Popovich about a video game. It would be absolutely priceless. That being said, I also thought, another cool thing that would be really fun to do would be to get Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, and Kenny the Jet Smith off their couches and out of early retirement. Look, if we could find a way to get them to actually do a halftime and a post-game show of these basketball games, that would be absolutely fantastic. Plus, it would allow me to continue my process of trying to understand what the hell Shaquille O'Neal is mumbling about tonight. Look, Shaquille O'Neal's mumbling, he's absolutely hilarious, but it takes a while to actually understand his tone. So I feel like I've fallen out of practice because of the coronavirus. And if we could just find a way to get Shaq back on television on some sort of regular basis, that would be helpful for me in my pursuit of trying to understand Shaq's classic mumble humor. I'm just saying. In addition to that, I thought, hey, let's give these players a little bit more personality. Look, during these video games, the players sit there and they smack talk with each other. Patrick Beverley is by far the best smack talker in the NBA to begin with, and that certainly carries over nicely to television when he's playing one of these video games. Unfortunately, not everybody is Patrick Beverley, and you end up with a lot of other smack talk that, quite frankly, is not smack talk. It's stuff like, "Hey man, how's it going?" Followed by the totally unwitty response of, "Good, man." Look, I think the solution is simple here. Let's keep the player banter to in between possessions and before and after timeouts, and then let's just go to the broadcast. Basically, let's do what they do in NASCAR with iRacing, and let's treat this like a real basketball game. I think if we did that, the ratings would go through the roof, And 2K Sports, as well as the National Basketball Association, would at the very least have a higher quality broadcast that they could be bringing to the fans around the globe who are who are craving at this point anything new from the world of sports. And I think the way the things are sort of set up right now, it's a bit of a throwaway. I was a little disappointed in how it all worked. It looked like it was sort of thrown together overnight. I think if they treat it like an actual broadcast, things would be a lot better for the NBA and a lot better for us who want to see this kind of stuff at this point. I'm serious, though. Kevin Harlan, absolutely unbelievable as an announcer. He really is. As I mentioned, literally could win an Emmy Award for calling play-by-play of somebody going into a grocery store. You could just tell that Marsha is clearly an MVP caliber shopper, said Kevin Harlan. Just watch as she enters the frozen food section. She carefully stalks her prey and comes out on the other end in just under 28 seconds. Not only is Marsha a fast shopper, but she is also as agile as one of those high wire performers from Circus du Soleil. I'm just saying, Kevin Harlan, an absolutely fantastic announcer. He can make anything sound good. So those are some of my ideas of how to improve the National Basketball Association. It's like cabin fever in the home office these days. But those are some of my ideas on how to improve the NBA's 2K Players Tournament. One last thing on this as well. I think what they should do during the pregame is they should give us a tour of the players' game caves as well as a bit of their houses. I would love to know, how does Kevin Durant really live? If Kevin Durant's going to play this game and I'm going to sit there and watch him for an hour play a video game, he needs to give me something back. I want to know what Kevin Durant has in his garage. Does Patrick Beverley really own a red Kia? We know he owns a Rolls Royce, but I'm just curious, is the Kia and the Rolls Royce right next to each other inside Patrick Beverley's garage? That is the kind of stuff that we should be getting from the pregame show. Think of MTV Cribs, if you will. Anyways, so just a couple quick thoughts for you about the National Basketball Association's big show there. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning into the Mighty Rip Pod. Do check out our website at mighty.rip when you have a chance. We have been doing some really cool things on the website as an independent sports team. The site is really quite good. So do check it out and give us your feedback when you have a chance. We will be ramping up more and more podcasts over the coming days for the Mighty Rip Pod. I am Dave DeBaugh, reminding you that sometimes, players, coaches, and front office folks make horrifically bad decisions, and it's our jobs as fans to set them straight, Bill O'Brien.